My name is Emily Parker. I'm 24 years old. And the night my mother told me not to come back, she believed she had finally won. She was wrong. That night didn't break me. It exposed her. My mother kicked me out just before midnight. No suitcase, no money, no warning. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She smiled, the kind of smile that means someone thinks they have power, and said, "If you walk out that door, don't come back." She expected fear. She expected tears. She expected me to freeze. So when I turned around and walked out without saying a word, she thought I was bluffing. She thought I'd be back by morning. Instead, by morning, she was panicking. By afternoon, she was losing control. And by nightfall, she was begging me to answer my phone. But this story didn't start that night. It started years earlier, in a house where love had rules, and safety depended on obedience. To everyone outside our home, my mother, Diane Parker, was admired. A strong single mom. A woman who sacrificed everything. A parent who did her best. People used to tell me I was lucky. They didn't know what it felt like to grow up walking on invisible landmines. Inside that house, love wasn't something you felt. It was something you earned. And it could be taken away at any moment. My mother didn't need to hit me. Her favorite weapon was guilt. She'd look at me with disappointment and say things like, "After everything I've done for you," or worse, "I don't know where I went wrong raising you." Those words were sharper than any slap. They stayed in my head for days, sometimes weeks. I learned early that if I wanted peace, I had to stay quiet. If I wanted safety, I had to agree. If I wanted love, I had to disappear. I was 7 years old the first time I understood my place. I spilled a glass of milk on the kitchen floor. It wasn't a big spill, but she stared at it like I'd committed a crime. Then she looked at me and said calmly, "This is why I can't relax. You're always creating problems." She didn't help me clean it. She stood there watching while I wiped the floor, apologizing over and over. That was the moment I learned something important. My mistakes were never just mistakes. They were proof. Proof that I was a burden. My younger brother, Mark, grew up in the same house, but we lived in different worlds. If Mark broke something, it was an accident. If Mark shouted, he was expressive. If Mark failed, the world was unfair to him. If I did any of those things, I was disrespectful, ungrateful, selfish. I cooked. I cleaned. I organized paperwork. I remembered appointments. I wasn't treated like a daughter. I was treated like unpaid labor. In public, though, she was perfect. She hugged me, praised me, called me her rock. People would smile and say, "You're so lucky to have a mom like her." I used to smile back, because telling the truth would only make things worse. When I was 10, I told her I wanted to be a writer. She laughed. "Writers starve," she said. "Focus on something realistic." So I stopped talking about my dreams. By 14, my life was already controlled. She checked my phone, read my messages, approved my friends. She called it protection. It felt like prison. At 17, I got accepted into a college out of state. Not a big school, not a famous one, just far enough away to breathe. I remember holding the acceptance letter like it was a ticket out. She read it once and laughed. "You really thought I'd let you go." Then she did something cruel. She called relatives while I was standing there and started crying. Told them I wanted to abandon the family. Told them I was selfish. By the end of the day, my phone was full of messages calling me ungrateful. So I stayed. Turning 18 didn't free me. Turning 21 didn't either. I still had a curfew, still had a monitored bank account, still had no control over my own life. That's when I started preparing quietly. At night, after everyone slept, I worked online, freelance writing, editing, small contracts. I saved money she didn't know about. I didn't plan revenge. I planned survival. The night everything broke felt ordinary at first. We were eating dinner. She was calm, too calm. That's how I knew something bad was coming. "I've been talking to someone," she said casually. "He has a son. Good job. Stable." My stomach dropped. "I'm not interested," I said carefully. She put her fork down and looked at me. "You don't get to decide that." Something inside me snapped. "I do," I said. "It's my life." Her face changed, not anger, contempt. She stood up, pointed at the door, and said slowly, "If you walk out right now, don't come back." She expected fear. Instead, I stood up. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't argue. I walked past her and out the door. The night air felt cold and free. She thought I'd fail. She thought I'd come crawling back. She didn't realize something important. She didn't kick me out. She removed the one person holding her life together. I slept on a friend's couch that night. Phone off. For the first time in my life, I slept without fear. Back home, she woke up to silence. No breakfast made, no bills handled, no emails answered. Things she never did herself. Things I always did. The calls started around 7 in the morning. Missed call, voicemail. "Emily, answer your phone." By noon, her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was shaky. She told me not to come back. So I didn't. And that's when everything started to fall apart for her. This was only the beginning. I didn't answer her calls that first morning. Not because I was angry, but because for the first time in my life, I had the power to choose silence. My phone kept lighting up on the table beside the couch. Missed call, voicemail. I watched it vibrate like it was someone else's problem. And in a way, it was. Because the moment I walked out of that house, I stopped being her safety net. I stopped being her emotional support, her assistant, her shield. She just didn't realize it yet. The first voicemail came in around 7:15. "Emily, answer your phone. This isn't funny." Her voice was sharp, irritated. The second one came 10 minutes later. "You need to come home. We need to talk." Still controlled, still confident. By the third voicemail, her tone changed. "Emily, please answer." That word, please, was new. I didn't respond. I showered at my friend's place, borrowed clothes, drank coffee slowly. Every small normal thing felt unreal, like I had stepped into a life that wasn't supposed to belong to me. Meanwhile, back home, the cracks were spreading. My mother was discovering something terrifying. She didn't know how to run her own life. She didn't know the login to the electricity account, didn't know when the insurance was due, didn't know how to reply to emails. Because for years, I had quietly handled all of it. Not because she asked nicely, because she expected it. By 10 in the morning, she called my aunt. I know because my aunt texted me. "What's going on with your mom? She sounds frantic." I stared at the message for a long time before replying. I moved out. That was it. No explanation, no apology. Within minutes, my phone exploded. Relatives, family friends, people who had never once asked if I was okay. Now they all wanted answers. "She's your mother. You can't just leave. She's worried sick." I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just said the truth. She told me not to come back. Silence followed. That wasn't the story they were expecting. By afternoon, my mother tried a different tactic. Her messages turned sweet. I didn't mean it. "You know how I get when I'm stressed. Come home and we'll talk." That word again. Home. She still thought she owned that word. But then something else happened. Something she couldn't control. Her image started slipping. She called one of her friends from church, the same woman she'd bragged to about raising such a good daughter. The woman asked a simple question. "Where's Emily?" And for the first time, my mother didn't have a good answer. Because "she left" sounds different than "I threw her out." By evening, her calls stopped. Not because she gave up, because she was busy putting out fires. Bills, missed appointments, people asking questions. She had always blamed me for being too emotional. Now she was pacing the house alone, panicking, unable to sit still. I found out later she barely slept that night. I slept better than I ever had. The next morning, I turned my phone on fully. There were 23 missed calls, 16 messages. The last one was short. "Please come home. We need you." Not "I'm sorry." Not "I was wrong." "We need you." That sentence made something inside me go cold. I finally replied, "I'm safe. Don't worry." Nothing else. Her response came instantly. "Where are you?" I stared at the screen, and for the first time in my life, I didn't answer her question. That day, I did something she never thought I'd do. I went to the bank. I opened a new account. In my name only. I redirected my freelance income. I changed passwords. Every click felt like reclaiming a piece of myself she had taken. By the third day, the guilt-tripping returned. Long messages about sacrifice, about everything she'd done for me, about how ungrateful I was. I didn't respond, because something had become clear. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing control. By the end of the week, the story she told people changed. Now she was saying I was confused, that I was going through something, that I'd be back soon. But people had started noticing something. I wasn't back, and she looked desperate. One evening, she showed up at my friend's place, unannounced, standing outside like she owned the ground. When I opened the door, she looked smaller somehow. Not weak, just exposed. "You embarrassed me," she said immediately. Not "I missed you." Not "Are you okay?" Embarrassed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just said, "You told me not to come back." She froze. For a split second, she realized she couldn't rewrite that moment. Not this time. She tried to step inside. I blocked the doorway. "You don't get to do this," she snapped. "You don't get to punish me." I looked at her calmly. "I'm not punishing you. I'm listening to you." That was the moment fear crossed her face. Because she understood something then. Her words finally had consequences. She left without another word. And that night, I made a decision. I wasn't going back. Not to apologize. Not to explain. Not to save her from the mess she created. For the first time, the silence between us was her problem. And she was unraveling. Because when someone builds their entire life on control, the moment it disappears, everything collapses. And this was only the beginning. For a few days after she showed up at my friend's place, my mother went quiet. That silence wasn't peace. It was strategy. I knew it because I had lived with her long enough to recognize the pattern. When she stopped calling, stopped messaging, stopped demanding answers, it meant she was rewriting the story. And she was. I started hearing it through other people first. A cousin messaged me saying, "Your mom says you're not well. She's worried about you." An old family friend asked gently, "Are you okay? Your mother said you're going through some kind of breakdown." I stared at my phone, feeling something twist in my chest. Not hurt. Recognition. She wasn't trying to bring me home anymore. She was trying to discredit me. If I was unstable, then she was still the good mother. If I was confused, then she was still the victim. It was classic. And for the first time, I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I didn't rush to defend myself. I didn't send long explanations. I did something far more dangerous to someone like her. I stayed calm. And I stayed consistent. Whenever someone asked, I said the same sentence. She told me not to come back. No emotion, no accusations, just the truth. At first, people brushed it off. She didn't mean it. She was emotional. You know how mothers are. But repetition is powerful, especially when it doesn't change. By the fifth time someone heard me say it, their tone shifted. She really said that? She kicked you out? And slowly, very slowly, her version started developing holes. Meanwhile, her life was falling apart in quiet ways. Bills were late. Appointments were missed. She forgot deadlines she had never even known existed, because I'd always handled them. She tried to take control back by demanding access to my accounts. When I didn't respond, she escalated. Threats first. You're being childish. You'll regret this. Then guilt. I raised you. I gave up everything. Then fear. I don't know how to do this without you. That one almost worked. Almost. But then she ruined it. She added one more line. You're hurting me on purpose. And that's when I understood something clearly. She wasn't hurting. She was losing power. A week later, she crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She posted online. A long post about betrayal. About children who abandon their parents. About sacrifice and heartbreak. She didn't name me. She didn't have to. People knew. The comments filled with sympathy. You're such a strong mother. You don't deserve this. She'll realize one day. I read every word without reacting. Then I did something she never expected. I commented. Just one sentence. She told me not to come back. That's it. No explanation. No defense. No anger. The comment stayed up for 10 minutes. Then it disappeared. She deleted the entire post shortly after. But it was too late. People had seen it. Screenshots circulated. Questions started forming. That night my phone rang. Her name on the screen. I answered. She didn't scream. She cried. Not softly. Loudly. Dramatically. I don't understand why you're doing this to me, she sobbed. I listened. I didn't interrupt. When she stopped, I said calmly, You told me to leave. She snapped instantly. I didn't mean it like that. But you said it, I replied. Silence. That silence felt different. It wasn't control anymore. It was fear. She tried again. Come home. We'll forget everything. I'll forgive you. Forgive. That word told me everything. I'm not coming back, I said. Her voice hardened. If you don't come back, don't expect anything from me. I almost laughed. Because she had already taken everything she could. The next few days were tense. She called relatives again, but this time the responses weren't the same. People asked questions. Some avoided getting involved. Some stayed neutral. And a few, just a few, started seeing her clearly. One aunt told her something she had never heard before. You can't talk to your daughter like that and expect her to stay. She didn't like that. She never liked being challenged. She started showing up unannounced again. At my workplace. At my friend's place. Every time I refused to engage. No yelling, no scenes, just boundaries. And boundaries terrify people who survive on control. Then came the moment everything shifted. I received a message from my brother, Mark. We hadn't talked since I left. Mom's not okay, he wrote. She's blaming you for everything. I stared at the screen, not surprised. She always does, I replied. There was a long pause before he answered. She says you ruined her life. That sentence didn't hurt. It confirmed something. She needed a villain. And since I wasn't there anymore, I was the perfect one. A few days later, I heard something that made my stomach drop. She had told people I was unstable, that I was lost, that I might be dangerous to myself. She was laying the groundwork. The same woman who had controlled my every move was now trying to make me look incapable of making decisions. And that was the moment my fear turned into resolve. I stopped being reactive. I started documenting everything: messages, voicemails, screenshots, dates, times, exact words. Not for revenge, for protection. Because I finally understood something crucial. She wasn't going to change. She was going to escalate. And the only way to survive someone like her was to stop playing defense. By the end of that month, she had lost more than control. She had lost credibility. People were distant. Conversations were shorter. Sympathy was thinner. And she felt it. That's when the final messages came. Not angry, not manipulative, desperate. I don't know who I am without you. Please just come home. I read them slowly. And then I did something I never thought I could do. I didn't respond. Because for the first time, her panic wasn't my responsibility. And she knew it. This wasn't the end. But it was the point of no return. Because once people start seeing the truth... The last message she sent me came late at night. It wasn't long. It wasn't dramatic. It just said, "Please, I need you." I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I was tempted, but because I finally understood something I had spent my whole life missing. She didn't need me. She needed control. And she had lost it. I didn't reply. The next morning, the calls started again. Not from her, from everyone else. Relatives, family friends, people who had stayed quiet for years. Now they were asking questions, real ones. Why did she tell you to leave? Did she really say that? How long has this been going on? I didn't overshare. I didn't attack her. I told the truth, calmly, consistently. She told me not to come back. I respected her words. I'm safe. That was it. And somehow, that was enough. Because when someone spends their whole life controlling the narrative, even a small crack lets the truth flood in. Her stories stopped working. People stopped defending her automatically. Some stayed silent. Some changed the subject. And a few did something unexpected. They apologized. Not loudly. Not publicly. Quiet messages that said things like, "I didn't realize. I should have noticed. I'm sorry." I read every one of them, and I forgave none of them out loud. But I let myself breathe. My mother noticed the shift. She felt it in the way people spoke to her, in the pauses, in the lack of certainty. She hated that more than anything. So she tried one last move. She showed up again. This time she didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She cried, standing there looking smaller than I had ever seen her. "I don't know who I am without you," she said. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the girl who cleaned spilled milk while being blamed for existing. The teenager whose dreams were laughed away. The adult who was told to leave and never come back. And I realized something painful but true. She didn't lose me. She pushed me out. "I'm not coming back," I said quietly. Her face hardened. "So that's it?" she asked. "You're just going to erase me?" I shook my head. "No, I'm just not sacrificing myself anymore." That was the moment she understood. There was no dramatic ending, no screaming, no final threat, just silence. The kind she could no longer control. She left without another word. And that was the last time I saw her. Life didn't magically become easy after that. Freedom rarely is. I worked harder than ever. I struggled. I doubted myself. But every struggle was mine. Every choice was mine. And slowly, something unfamiliar grew inside me. Peace. Weeks turned into months. Her name stopped appearing on my phone. Her voice stopped echoing in my head. And one morning, I woke up and realized something strange. I hadn't thought about her in days. That's when I knew. She didn't win. She didn't break me. She taught me exactly what kind of life I refused to live. She told me not to come back.